Today, we're going to talk about one of the most tragic days in Islamic history. A day when truth faced off against tyranny, and when one man's stand for justice changed the course of history forever. Welcome to the Battle of Karbala. It was the year 680 CE, and the Muslim world was in turmoil. Muawiyah, the governor of Syria, had just died, and his son Yazid had taken over. But not everyone was happy with this. You see, Yazid was a notorious womanizer and a heavy drinker, not exactly the kind of person you'd want to be in charge. And one man in particular wasn't having it. Imam Hussain, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He refused to pledge allegiance to Yazid, seeing it as a betrayal of his grandfather's legacy. Yazid's cronies weren't too happy about this. They wanted Hussein to bend the knee, but he wasn't budging. So they hatched a plan to force his hand. They sent a letter inviting him to a conference in the city of Karbala, promising him a grand welcome and pledging their support for him as the new leader. But really, it was a trap. Hussein saw through it, but he wasn't about to back down. He knew that staying in Iraq would mean certain death for him and his followers. So he packed up and headed out to Karbala with 72 of his closest companions. But little did he know, he was walking right into a nightmare. When his brother Hassan arrived in Karbala, he tried to talk him out of it. He knew it was a trap, but Hussein was adamant. He was willing to die rather than submit to Yazid. And so the brothers parted ways, each taking a different path. But before long, Hussein's men started getting restless. They were exhausted and thirsty, and they hadn't seen any water in days. When they finally reached Karbala, they were desperate. Hussein urged them to hold out just a little bit longer, that help was on the way, but they couldn't take it anymore. They charged forward, ready to do battle. And what a battle it was. On one side, you had Imam Hussain, the champion of truth, and on the other, Yazid's army, the epitome of tyranny. Swords clashed, and the air filled with the sounds of battle. Hussein fought like a lion, his every move a testament to his courage and skill, but he was outnumbered and surrounded. One by one, his companions fell until he was the last man standing. But even in the face of certain death, he refused to give up. He kept fighting, knowing that he was not just fighting for himself, but for the future of Islam. Finally, when his sword was broken and his body was covered in wounds, he was captured. Yazid's men dragged him before the tyrant himself. And when Yazid offered him the chance to pledge allegiance, he refused. Yazid had him put to death right then and there on the orders of Yazid. His head was cut off, and his body was left to be torn apart by wild horses. But the story doesn't end there. In the days that followed, Yazid's men went on a rampage, killing hundreds of innocent Muslims. But every time they raised their swords to take another life, they could hear the echo of Hussein's words ringing in their ears. Do you think that after I am gone, you will find anyone to stand up to me? By Allah, there will rise from my progeny a people who will wage war against the oppressors. True to his word, his followers kept fighting, not just against Yazid and his ilk, but for justice and equality for all Muslims. The Battle of Karbala was a turning point in Islamic history. It marked the transition of Islam from a time of rigidity and upheaval to one of reflection and remembrance. Every year on the 10th day of the month of Muharram, Muslims around the world observe the day of Ashura, commemorating the martyrdom of Imam Hussain and his companions. It's a day of mourning, yes, but also a celebration of courage, justice, and the unwavering pursuit of truth. So remember the Battle of Karbala, not just as a tragic event of the past, but as a reminder for the present and a guide for the future. Remember the stand of one man against tyranny and the legacy he left behind for all of us. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay curious, stay thirsty for knowledge, and above all, stay blessed.